hands up.
Yeah, I was just wondering when we are going to be voting on volunteers for the Santa Clara Community Foundation.
I think that is part of the next part of our agenda, is not voting on them, but letting people know that we have now created our Santa Clara Community Foundation. It's a 501c3 nonprofit, and we have received our EIN from the IRS, which is a lot of letters, but it means we're real. And our next step is to solicit people who want to serve on the board of that nonprofit. And then we'll create a process for vetting people who nominate themselves or nominate others. And then the board of SCCO will review those. So that's yes, Matt Vose, your hand is up.
In determining what that, how many members are going to be on that, are we still talking about changing our bylaws to, are they going to have their own separate set of bylaws, and are our bylaws going to change into that, feed into those?
Two separate things. And they have their own bylaws, and we're looking for a minimum of 5, maximum of 15 board members.
There are 3-year terms, and the bylaws have already been written for the foundation.
So our next step is to figure out who's going to be on the board of the foundation, and then we have a board training with the lawyers, and then we move into actually going forth and doing good. So we are happy to entertain anybody's self-nomination or nomination of somebody else. And we had determined that they don't have to be a resident of Santa Clara, but they do have to have the interests of Santa Clara at heart. And Tim has been working on a mission statement and vision statement for the foundation. So we'll share that with you as we get it organized. And I'm hoping in this next month, everybody can rack their brains for possible foundation board members. And I've already started reaching out to a few in Santa Clara, a few people who might be interested. So it's nothing, you can't promise to anybody, but the idea is I'm asking people, would they like to serve? Do they have, are they well connected in the Santa Clara community? Do they have ideas about fundraising? Do they have experience as accountants or legal professional experience, or in, what would you describe as your superpower is how I look at it when I ask people. And then we'll, if they want to, we're going to create an application where they can apply to serve. And then we'll select from the applications the people to serve on the board. Does that make sense?
I'd like to back up on that a little bit. Just so folks know, the actual voting body of the nonprofit will be the board of SCCO. And so one of the first things I think that we need to do is create a committee, and this came from Jerry, I think, a nominating committee, so that the nominations go to a SCCO committee, and they get processed, vetted through, for validity, and then whoever is that nominating committee decides they want to be nominees, then they send them a package that includes the application and the bylaws and the mission and all that stuff that they can review and have the whole package to get in their heads, and then fill out the application that gets submitted to, I suppose, back to the nominating committee that then forwards it to the SCCO board, that then votes on whether or not that person who's applied can be a board member, because the SCCO board is the voting entity of the foundation.
The law firm suggested that that it's possible to have SCCO board members on the foundation board, but to keep that at a minimum. And I would suggest that we have one or two board members simply as a liaison between the foundation and the board.
And I agree with that, as long as any conflicts of interest are disclosed ahead of time, and those board members are not able to actually vote on board decisions for the foundation if they have an interest. Anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves. What I'm trying to say is we need to now tonight, and I make that motion that we form a nominating committee for the Santa Clara Community Foundation board.
How many people, Tim?
As many as want to join, I suppose. As many as that want to look through all the potential nominees and do it. So, you know, probably a handful at least, you know, 4 or 5. But it's really sort of that pre-filtering of nominees. And, you know, I expect probably most of them will go through, but we just don't want to be inundated. We don't really know how inundated we might be with folks who really want to be on it. Yeah.
We can hope.
We can hope, yeah. And but anyway, we can hope they're, you know, anyway.
I'd second that motion, Tim.
Okay, thank you. And so, so we can vote on that we're going to form the committee, the nominating committee.
Okay, all in favor of forming a nominating committee for Community Foundation board selection? Okay, unanimity. Thank you, Jerry Finnegan, for raising the mirth factor.
Yep.
Okay, so now, can we have people who are here tonight volunteer for the committee? So, and I don't know that that's required, that we have to do anything formal, but if you want to be on the committee, Kamal or anybody, and you can also you can nominate yourselves and you can be on the committee, but you might not be able to vote for yourself. I don't know how that's going to work, but the point is, the more people we have deciding who the nominees are going to be, the better it will be for us.
Kamal, your hand's up.
Yeah, I guess I would like to nominate myself for the position.
Okay. Okay, we've got you on the list.
I'd like to be on the nominating committee, Tim. And looks like Patrick.
Give me, Jerry.
What?
Give me to be on
no,
the list.
I didn't. Kate didn't announce you.
For real?
I heard you. You're right next to me.
Okay, Matt Bowes, your hand's up.
Yeah, I know this is probably a step or two down the road, but I'm still a little unclear of the connections between the nonprofit and the board, and what decisions are made by which entity. And so I don't know if that can just be sorted out via email, but if somebody could kind of enlighten me on
I can explain it. I can explain it, hopefully fairly simply. The Santa Clara board is the voting membership of the Santa Clara Foundation. The Santa Clara board does not make any decisions for the foundation. They simply vote for board members, or vote to remove board members. If there's a major conflict or a problem of ethics or something, then the Santa Clara board would be able to remove a board member. And if someone new comes to apply, they would apply to be a nominee to the Santa Clara organization board. And that board would decide then to nominate and vote on a new board member or an existing board member extending their term.
So is this information, Tim, that you're just now presenting, is this available? Is this already been decided and available?
Well, it's in the bylaws.
These are the bylaws, and we're just
this is in the bylaws of the foundation.
Of the foundation, yes.
Okay, and those haven't been published yet?
Not yet. We're just proofreading them now for the lawyer, and then I will share them out with everybody here, and we can post them on the website.
But the fundamentals I'm describing aren't going to change.
Right.
Well, unless we decide as a group, the foundation board itself could decide to amend the bylaws however they like. But for now, what I've said was that the council is the Santa Clara Community Organization Board. They get to hire and fire board members to the foundation, but they don't get to make any foundation decisions. They can only affect it by putting people on the board or taking them off.
The queue is Kamau and then Matt.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify. I wanted to nominate myself for the Santa Clara Community Foundation seat, not for the decision making, the nomination committee.
We got you.
Okay.
We got you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Matt.
So nominations of projects for them to fund, that would be taken up by them. Then we would not direct them to say, hey, we want you to look at this project. They would attend our meetings and say, hey, we like what you guys are talking about. We want to fund that.
No, I think SCCO could recommend an idea, but it would be the board's decision, the foundation's board's decision, whether to implement or to move forward on it or not.
Michael Neiman, then Paul Shang.
I realize this is probably a little bit late, but explain to me, because my understanding was this nonprofit was being formed in order to facilitate some things that we wanted to do, but needed to have a certain kind of entity to do. But from what you're saying, it seems like we won't have really any control over it or any ability to direct it really. So I'm a little bit confused or troubled by that. I probably don't understand it correctly.
I think you kind of have it, Michael, that is true, other than the fact that the communication is there between the two organizations. The governing body of the foundation is just that. They're the ones who make the final decision. So certainly SCCO board and SCCO through its machinations can make decisions and decide what to recommend to the foundation. It's up to the foundation board. It has to stand alone. But of course, one of the main goals you're talking about, say the schoolhouse project that we're talking about, that would be one of the things. And so that input there would be, back and forth, but the decisions would be made by the foundation board.
There's and it's not like we're in different countries. We're all coming to SCCO meetings, whether we're on the foundation or not. And that's why I also think that it's a good idea to have a liaison actually that is a SCCO board member, or at least one or two.
Paul, you're next.
Well, I just wanted to say that, first of all, I apologize because I haven't read the governing documents for the foundation. But I was under the impression that it would probably be set up in such a way so that the board, our board, the one that we're all participating in right now, would be the source of recommendations to the foundation about what to fund. In other words, the foundation would basically be kind of like the board's bank. And while it may or may not necessarily have the ability to do fundraising and other kinds of things, who makes the decisions with regard to the projects that are done on behalf of our organization is the board of our organization and not the foundation board. So that I'm sort of surprised because that's the way the attorney would have or directed us. And when we formed a foundation for my Rotary Club, the Rotary Club board is basically the source of all of the projects that are then recommended to the foundation. The foundation can vote up or down on whether or not to fund, but all the things are generated at the board of the organization's level. That is our board right here.
Well, yes, that's exactly what I said, Paul. I guess I didn't say it quite right. is that the foundation board makes the decision, but certainly the SCCO board makes recommendations to what the foundation might work with, projects that they might work on. Isn't that what you just said?
No, I basically said a little bit more than that, in that our board, the board that we're all participating in right now, the meeting of this board anyway, not just makes the recommendations, but basically has the authority to approve. And that's it. Now, the foundation, if it's caught in a situation where it thinks that there's some sort of unethical behavior going on or conflict of interest or something like that, can vote to not fund the project, but then it goes back to the board. So the foundation serves at the behest of the organization's board and is basically the bank, just the bank. Is the way I would have presumed that it would have been set up. Now, I say that having not read, the articles of the establishment of foundation. So I don't know what's actually there.
The way the lawyers presented to us is that the foundation needed to have a controlling body that controls it, and that is the Santa Clara Community Organization. And the way the bylaws are set up, it is Santa Clara Community Organization is a controlling body for the foundation. And so I don't think it can go off the way it's said, that's written. I don't think it can go off on its own and do whatever it wants to.
Gary Haliski and then Kamau. And Dawn, your hand was up but then down, no?
I just think this might be a blend of what Tim and Paul are talking about, but what I'm thinking of is there's, we may have park activities that we want to support. We may have the garden activities that we want to support. We obviously have the schoolhouse activities that we want to support, which I think is what the driving thing behind this whole foundation is. And when I donate, so I donate a lot, and you're able to go to these different groups and you're able to put this money towards such and such part of that foundation, put it towards such and such part of that foundation. And the groups I donate to, I'm very confident that it goes to that segment. So I think that's more along what Paul's saying. I'm just hoping that that's, that we have this opportunity to, to segment it into, and I think the general group, the Santa Clara Community Organization needs input into that, but I would hope the foundation would also be able to allow those groups that maybe the SCCO has not looked at.
Is your question whether or not people can earmark funds for certain projects when they donate to the foundation?
Yes.
I don't think that'll be a problem. Kamau, you were next, then Matt, then Paul.
You don't think so?
I think that's not a problem. Yeah.
Yeah, I just had a question where I can find these laws that the last speaker was talking about, because I'm a little bit confused and concerned if the foundation has no real power, in a sense that we vote here, you direct the foundation just chooses its decision, and then it comes back here and you direct the foundation again. So what's the point of having the foundation if the board is,
yeah, why isn't the SCCO just the nonprofit itself?
if they're separated.
And I understand where you come from.
And where can I find the laws to read them?
Yeah, well, as soon as we're really close to having them tweaked between 3 or 4 of us, so that we can publish them, and then we can have a discussion about those bylaws. But essentially, there's sort of 2 parts to it, and that is the Stewardship Council, which is the SCCO board, decides who gets to be on the foundation board. And then, of course, the SCCO body can make recommendations to the foundation board on what they would like to, projects they would like to work on, or where money should go. And then that foundation board takes that under advisement and votes up or down. Yes, let's fund this. Let's form a committee to study it, or whatever we like. So that's kind of the connection that I think that you can't really get until you read the bylaws. Of what the partnership of the governance of the foundation is about, and how SCCO has the power to add people to the board or remove them from the board. So if SCCO as an organization has any trouble with how the board is acting, then they have every right to simply go and replace all the board members. They could easily do that.
So the queue, and I just want to check in because it's now 9:10 and we don't necessarily have to get to all our other updates, and I'm happy to continue discussing this as long as people want to discuss it. But if there's other things on the agenda that have to get mentioned, this is a good time to say I have 1 or 2 things that have to get mentioned. Anybody? Then the queue is Matt Vose, Paul Sheng, Don Leslie, Michael Neiman, and then back to Kamau.
Okay, I'll try and be quick. And I think that this might just get sorted out once these bylaws are out there, but I'm kind of hearing a couple of different things, and I'll circle back to my original question of, are these 2 completely separate? And yes, they're separate. All SCCO does is nominate the members to the foundation. But then I also thought I heard, no, SCCO makes the actual recommendation of what they get to vote on. They don't get to pick their own. So that just kind of needs to be sorted out. Or if they want to fund something completely outside of what SCCO wants, do they get to pick that? Just kind of how that flow goes. And so maybe seeing their bylaws, and then my last part of it, would our bylaws have to change to facilitate any of that? And I'll be done for the night.
And no, our bylaws don't have to change given our structure, according to the lawyer. Paul Sheng, Don Leslie, Michael Neiman, come out.
I haven't read the bylaws, so again, I apologize for that. But the reason to have a foundation in the first place, and basically the only reason, is so that any donations made to the foundation, because you want to support projects that have been approved by the board, is the tax deduction. And so that's the benefit of having a foundation. SCCO itself, that is our board, for our community organization, is not a tax deductible or tax, collecting organization. We could possibly one day, set it up so that we could collect fees, or something, but those wouldn't be tax deductible. If you want to give gifts for specific projects, the only way you can do that is to give to the foundation. And consequently, that's why the foundation is not independent in the sense that it can go out and try to find things and just, spend money. The projects have to be approved by the board in the first place. That is the whole organization. And the foundation then spends the money at the direction of the main organization and through its processes of gathering recommendations for projects or deciding upon, what kinds of things the organization wants to value.
I nominate Paul for a board nominee position.
Yeah.
So Michael Neiman, you were next, then Kamau.
Yeah, as Paul said, I haven't read, I haven't really studied this issue, but I just want to say that I'm unsettled by the idea of what seems to be happening. And I would like to see it not be completed until everyone understands it, because it sounds like what Tim is saying is that the only control that the SCCO board would have over the foundation is the selection or removal of its board members. And again, that's a little bit troubling to me, because I thought the creation of this, I understand why we had to create a foundation to handle money, basically, but I thought it was an instrument for us to use for things that we wanted to do. So it's, again, I may be misunderstanding it, and that very well may be the case, but it's troubling to me to think that there's a process going on that's almost complete, that we're creating this board, that this foundation that we'll have no real control over. So that's all. I mean, I just wanted to put that out there. I'm sorry if I'm just misunderstanding what's going on, but that's what I'm hearing.
Well, and everybody's at a disadvantage because they don't have access to the bylaws. What we're trying to do is get to that initial formation meeting. And in order to do that, we have to have a board in place. So what we've done tonight is create that committee that will actually decide on who those board members are. And we have an application process, and it's a little involved. There's an application form that people have to fill out. But right now we're just in the nominating portion.
But Tim, you said that basic structure that I just described is not going to change, will not change. The idea that the only power that the SCCO board has, or the foundation, is the members of the board, nothing else. You stated that won't change, right?
Well, unless the bylaws are amended by the foundation board to change them, that's the way the current bylaws sit. That the SCCO organization is the sole voting member of the foundation. So, and the voting body of the foundation elects the board and fires the board.
Okay, am I the only one that has an issue? Because if I am, I'll just let it go. Is no one else concerned about this?
I'm confused. Now and then Pat Walsh.
There's comments in the chat room. Yes, there's a lot of issues.
Kamau, then Pat. I think you're muted, Kamau.
Oh, sorry, I have a double verification type of thing going here. But I'm a little confused, and not confused, more so just wondering if the Santa Clara Community Organization current board is the kind of driving body of the zoning laws in the unincorporated areas of the Santa Clara.
We don't have anything to do with zoning laws as a community organization.
Okay, because that was kind of like one of my concerns, was that the foundation would just be dabbling in their hands in projects of recently zoned housing, like housing sections, you understand, to create more lots.
No, put that off your mind. We're not. We're not involved in any sort of zoning or
we have no land use authority of any kind.
Okay, cool. Good to know. Thank you.
Well, I don't know it all, believe me, but I'll share just a little personal experience. I've actually been on a university foundation board, and it's very similar in terms of, I think, what you're talking about here. And that is that the foundation board is really charged with the raising and the management of the money as directed by the Santa Clara Community Organization, or like when I was on the Western Oregon University Foundation Board, it was directed by what the university needed. we as a foundation board could not operate independently and decide we were going to go raise a bunch of money for something that didn't fit into the university's strategic plan. So I think that what it did is it provided oversight of the money that was raised from foundations and from individual donors, and then it oversaw that money and then made sure that that money was then well taken care of, and then made it into the projects that they were designated for,
according to the mission of the organization.
It seems to me that this is what you guys are talking about, and it takes a little bit of time to get up to speed and get organized on it. But it's once it's set up, it works really, really well. I mean, my experience was it worked really, really well. And when I was on the foundation at Western, it was, the board, the university president was on that board, and we all served at his pleasure. So that was the model there. But I hope if that helps explain some things to some folks, I hope that makes some sense. But we could not act independently, for sure.
Oh, well, I don't want to jump the queue. Wasn't there other people?
I don't think there's a queue still. You're it.
Oh, okay. Well, I want to piggyback on what Pat just said. That's basically my understanding of how foundations work. And I serve on a foundation and have served on other foundations as well. But it does not do anything independent of the organization that it's the bank for. So all the projects, all the things that are to be funded have to go through the board first, the SCCO board. And those then go to the foundation. And the foundation thinks that there's something immoral about the recommendations or unethical, or there's a conflict of interest, then it sends it back to SCCO, to the club board, the organization board. But it doesn't do anything on its own other than raise money, and those recommendations for how to raise money go back to the board for approval. So I put that in a little note to everyone, and I think we're talking about possibly the same kind of thing. I think it's just the nuances in the language. The board has a lot more influence than just being able to appoint the members of the foundation. The board is the mothership. It's the one that governs. The SCCO board governs everything that the foundation does. The foundation, I keep repeating this, but just think of it as the bank. A bank that has the responsibility of making money for you.
Michael, your hand's up.
Paul and Pat have talked about foundations that they were involved in, and what they say is reassuring, but it still seems to contradict what Tim said about how our foundation is going to be set up. So I guess, and I'm seeing in the chat, a lot of people are feeling similarly. So I guess I just want to make sure that things are not going to be finalized until, perhaps it's as simple as we just need to see the bylaws, and then we'll realize that, oh yeah, it is set up in that manner. But I guess since I haven't been involved in it at all, and shame on me, I just want to be sure that it's not going to be, completed until we are able to get clarity about this really important issue.
I assure you we will complete nothing without letting the board plus group know what we're doing, and if anybody else wants to provide feedback, and I would include Paul and Pat Walsh, who have lots of experience in this, plus anybody else who volunteers themselves. We'll be sure to share that out with you.
And so I have 4 people who volunteered to be on the nominating committee. And is there anyone else here in this meeting that would like to be on it?
I have Kamal, Kate, Patrick. Who's the 4th?
Kamal doesn't want to be on the nominating committee. He
wants to be on the foundation.
He wants to be on the foundation board.
Okay, so who's on the nominating committee? Kate and Patrick, and who else?
Me and you.
Okay, Tim, Jerry.
I'm wondering if we can get Ann on there, maybe.
Is she still on?
She's not here right now, but I'll call her later.
Yeah, yeah, that would be a good idea.
Mhm.
And certainly if anybody is interested in nominating themselves or someone else to be a potential board member on the foundation, let us know and we'll get a packet out to them or you, and we'll start taking some applications for the board.
When will we see those bylaws?
When would we like to see the bylaws?
Hopefully before the end of the week. Oh no, it is the end of the week. So maybe by midweek next week, because realistically I have a lot to do in the next 2 days, but after that. Yes,
They're in
Paul?
draft form right now, right? I mean,
Yep.
basically a draft. Okay.
Well, it's pretty close to complete.
Yeah, I'm going to have to read them again after this discussion. I'm going to have to read them again to see
Yeah.
what other connections we have, and because I wasn't thinking in terms of this discussion. So yeah.
Okay. Anything else for the good of the order, fine people? Yes, Matt Vose. Oh, you're just waving.
We're waving at Kevin.
Oh.
Hey, Kevin.
Well, I thank you all for staying to the very bitter end and for all your good work in the neighborhood. And I will be in touch soon.
Great meeting, Kate. Good to see everybody.
And can I ask, is there any reason I can't publish the current draft of the bylaws? You guys? Why are we the ones who are sitting here doing this?
Because we're the ones who sat in the meeting with David Williamson. That's why.
Well, I know that's why we're doing it now, but I'm happy to get anybody else's input on the whole thing.
Yeah.
It might be time to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, the bylaws are pretty much a boilerplate. I think. He put a lot of stuff in here there for us, but
and there's a few little confusing parts in there too. I will admit. So I'm a member of the Next Step Recycling Stewardship Council. So the Stewardship Council is actually what we're saying that the SCCO organization board is. It's the voting membership, and the voting membership are the people who vote on who's on the board and what types of missions actually happen is what you guys are talking about. But they don't actually decide on what the board does as a body. The foundation board itself makes those decisions about the implementation of whatever the projects are. So I guess I was misspeaking when I was trying to limit the SCCO's input on that. And so you'll have to read the bylaws. So how am I going to get them to everybody?
That was my question. So we could easily send them out as an attachment to Board Plus, but we should probably make it available on the website for people who aren't, I don't know. That's my thinking. Can you not, please? It's been a very long Zoomy day.
Well, let me.
This is after school right now.
Yeah. Well, and I don't necessarily want to broadcast the bylaws to a whole bunch of people who have no interest at all in that.
Okay, so I will make up an email list. Let's see. So the only people I don't have email for here are Judy and Kamau. So if you guys want to get the bylaws, please send an email to me.
Kamau certainly does if he wants to be on the board.
So I will put my email address in the, thank you, Kamau. That's easy. You just send me yours. Brilliant. Aren't you fast and furious?
And so you have mine. I'll be happy to look at them.
Thank you, dearest.
Yes, please do, Paul.
Development at, I'm pen and paper, so I'm writing it down. At Gmail, and then MS Judy. Okay, so I got both of you, and I will include everybody else also, and I'll make a whatever address list, send it to Tim, and he'll send the bylaws to everybody.
Suzanne just got back from getting her second vaccination.
Oh dear.
Well, we hope it goes well.
She's already
How
back.
did she know to do that?
What?
How did she know to do that? I'm looking for my second.
She's a healthcare worker, and so they at the time of her first one they scheduled it.
Oh, okay, great. Congratulations to her. I'm just searching all around.
My first one's tomorrow.
Good luck. It's fine. It's easy. At least my experience was.
I'm not worried about
Thanks.
it. Anyway, thank you.
Hey, Kate.
Thanks, everybody. Yes,
Good
Matt?
night.
We don't need to do any approval of anything from last meeting. Are we postponing that to next meeting?
We can do the minutes and that kind of stuff next meeting, I think.
Okay.
And thanks, sure. Harry. Harry is from River Road. He sat through this whole thing with us, so thanks.
Glutton for punishment.
Hey. Good night, everybody. Thanks so much.
Good night. Well done, Kate.